Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Excited to get into one of the topics that I care most about when I'm out in the woods, which is safety. I'm sitting here watching the video of going out and doing the Bigfoot slides in the White National Mountains, and I'm realizing I didn't follow a lot of the rules I set for myself when I go out into the woods. And so in reflection of this video, and frankly just to help out others, here are 10 tips to stay safe in the woods. First up, know your route. If you watch this video, I quickly scanned the book while I was in the car, but because it was raining, I didn't bring the book, I didn't bring a map. I relied solely on my memory of the hike. And as a result, I got turned around a couple times, which wasn't the end of the world, but it's one of those things that can certainly compound with all these other items to make your day not go so great. So first and foremost, know where you're going, have a map. If you have a book, like I did, either bring the book or take photos with your phone so that you can refer back to, hey, I'm supposed to turn right here, or I'm supposed to turn left here. It's much less of an issue if you're on well-marked trails, but some of these waterfalls I go to, it's go to this kiosk and then there's a random trail that you need to follow that isn't necessarily blazed, so know where you're going. Second tip, know the weather. I did look at the weather forecast before I went on this hike, and it looked like the rain was supposed to not hit where I was going. So I didn't bring a rain jacket. I didn't plan accordingly. Certainly when you're hiking up brooks, rain's a problem because the rocks all get slippery. So you very much want to be cognizant, not just of the weather, but how it could change. I really should have checked in as I got closer to the location. I should check the radar and really known what I was getting into. A little bit of defense of myself, I didn't have cell service, so I couldn't necessarily check the radar, but I should have stopped along the way and just verified that the update I got from the morning news was still gonna hold throughout my hike. Tip 3, bring the right gear. As I just mentioned, I didn't bring a rain jacket. I didn't bring hiking poles. I saw this as a very quick and easy and simple waterfall hike that wouldn't take me that long. And so I really went into it not as prepared as I should have been. I didn't have my emergency Garmin contact beacon, and there was no cell service, so I actually didn't have a way to get a hold of anybody if something did happen. Tip 4, stay hydrated. I did bring water with me, and I did make sure I had electrolytes before I got on the trail. I did not, however, bring my Youre squeeze, which would allow me to filter water if I needed. That's a very lightweight insurance. There are a number of options you can get, like life straws and that sort of thing, that don't take up that much room, that don't add that much weight, but they give you the option if for whatever reason you end up consuming more water than you thought. So make sure you stay hydrated on the trail. Tip 5, know your limits. So when I did this hike, I had nerve damage in my foot and I had back spasms going on. And while those injuries are just part of my life now, there are hikes that I should do by myself and there are hikes that I should do with a friend. And this, given how slippery everything was, how out there I wasn't necessarily on a trail where anybody would be able to find me if something did occur. I should have rethought going out there by myself. That leads into tip 6, which is hike with a buddy. I enjoy going out in the woods by myself, and it's certainly not an issue if you're doing an easier hike on a well-marked trail where you'll come across other people. But if you're going into the wilderness on a less used trail, it is always a good idea to bring a friend with you so that if something does happen, you've got that person to support and vice versa. Tip 7, stay on the trail. A lot of areas you want to do this just because there are sensitive environmental considerations. Maybe they're regrowing grass, especially you get in the alpine area. There's alpine plants that are very fragile. You don't want to step on those, but also you don't want to get lost. And it's very easy in the dense woods of Maine and New Hampshire to get turned around. So stay on the trail. Stay within sight of the trail if you're going to get off the trail. This is really critical, even more critical if you don't have like a GPS device. There are ways to mitigate that risk, but it's always best to stay on the trail. Tip 8, when you're going in the woods, make sure somebody knows where you're going. This is probably the biggest mistake I made when I did the Bigfoot slides hike. Nobody knew where I was. I didn't let somebody know where I was going. Now in the morning, when I saw my girlfriend, I of course said, hey, I'm going on a hike, I'll see you tonight. But I live in an area where that could have meant I was in Maine, I was in New Hampshire, I was in Vermont, very close striking distance to a lot of different places. So at minimum, I should have let her know, hey, I'm gonna be on this trail in this area. This is the time I'm leaving. This is the time I'm expected back. That way, you know, she would give me a grace period. But if I was several hours late getting home and she was worried about me and I hadn't contacted her, she would know where to send people to look for me. So always make sure somebody knows where you're going. Tip 9, wildlife safety. Here in New England, we're very fortunate. There's not a ton of predators out there. We have black bears. Most times they're more afraid of you than you are of them, unless they have cubs. We don't have rattlesnakes in Maine. So this is really something, if you're hiking not in an area like Maine, certainly when I go hiking in the Southwest where rattlesnakes are an issue, look out for them. If I'm hiking the Pacific Northwest, if I'm hiking in like Montana, Wyoming, when I've been hiking up in Alaska, grizzly bears are a huge concern. So you want to make sure you're cognizant of those risks, you know how to mitigate those risks so that you don't end up in a very bad situation. And my last tip, tip 10, is to be ready for emergencies. Things happen on the trail. Well, I didn't make the best decisions on this particular hike. I did have a first aid kit with me, so I was ready in case anything happened there. I could, provide myself first aid. I didn't have a way to contact anybody, so there's definitely some things you can do as you go out. I know there's a real tendency to try to limit weight in your bag, but carrying things like Garmin InReach if you're not going to be in cell service, carrying first aid kit so that if you do get a cut or a bruise or you need to splint something, you certainly can. And the other thing I would say about being prepared for emergencies is you should look into some training. So I've taken first responder training. I used to work on ships, so I'm CPR certified. I've taken wilderness first aid. I've really prepared so that in the event something does happen, I can take care of myself and I can take care of others. All right, well, those are the 10 tips I have for staying safe in the woods. Did I miss something? Comment below. If you want to see a hike where we did do everything right and we followed all 10 of those steps, you can click here. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.